If you feel intimidated by the flag, you are a moron.
Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize, correct?
No one believes a word they say, and I kind of get it. I mean, they just completely naff for 14 years.
Welcome to Friday's edition of the Daily Expresso. I'm JJ Anisiobi, and this is Daily Express Assistant Editor James Walker. James Walker, the straight talker. How you doing, Jimmy?
Very good, thanks, mate. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good, mate. I'm doing well.
You've had a bit of a rough week in the comments, so glad to see you sort of still chirpy.
I'm still standing.
Yeah.
I'm still standing. They won't defeat me.
You're hanging on by a thread.
Despite the horrible comments, Friday is genuinely my favourite part of the week. It's time for us to get stuck into you, our viewers' comments, whether you're cheering us on or calling us names. We want to hear from you. So like, share, subscribe, and let's get this conversation going. First up, the Tory party conference. It dominated the headlines this week, and I think we saw a resurgent Kemi. Her final speech was a mission statement that set out her vision for Britain and where she stands on key issues. She went in hard on ECHR, eviscerated Labour's welfare system, and promised to end stamp duty. With talk coming into the conference about how long she has left as leader, her performance seems to have squashed those whispers. But will it be a stay of execution or a new lease of life for the Tory leader? A lot of you weighed in on Kemi's conference performance. Where should we start? Mick Hunt, 1965. He said, "I like Kemi. She is not Boris or Cameron or Corbyn or Starmer, and she tells the truth. It's such a shame her party shafted her chance." Wow. Giant Dwarf. Said, "Reform pledged to abolish stamp duty for properties below £750,000 in the 2024 campaign," and Badenoch said it was unrealistic. Along with most of the other policies announced, they are just lifted from reform. The Conservatives are just a cheap imitation of reform. Manchian One said, "I really liked the speech. I liked Kemi, and as Conservative, I want to believe you. But unfortunately, I'm not convinced anymore." Finally, Droog K3X says, "Sadly, the repeated question of who to vote for is the same as deciding where you'd like to sit on the Titanic. Tragically, it doesn't seem to matter as nothing changes." James, genuinely, I thought Kemi did a really good speech. Probably the best of all the conferences this year. That was definitely the best leader speech. And she's still getting dragged by some people who are just not convinced.
You've fallen in love with Kemi since you interviewed
I
her.
have
She's
not.
really schmoozed you. What did she
did
promise
schmooze
you? A director of communications or
A
something?
lordship.
Yeah, probably. Look, I mean, her speech was all right. I mean, like you said in the intro, stay of execution. It's sort of like, giving her a few more days before she goes onto death row. She's not in it for the long haul at all. There were stories in the Times, I don't know if you saw the Times, they were saying that there's still a plot to oust her. I can kind of see why. I mean, in my opinion, stamp duty, I mean, I benefit hugely from that right now. Great, good idea.
Mm-hmm.
But what, really? Against what Reform are offering? Sort of against what Farage is offering, against Farage's personality? Best you can come up with is a stamp duty cut. I mean, who cares?
And
who cares?
Put it out of the ECHR.
I mean, that was Farage all over, right? That's Farage and Generic. I mean, she's just nicking ideas at this point. She's got no ideas of her own. It's just so clear from that speech. She's got nothing to.
Isn't it more a case of there's only so many ideas you can have in politics anyway? In terms of policy, there's only so much stuff you can really come up with. Everyone's policies at some point are going to cross over into each other's.
I think when you're in a position like hers, though, you have to be a bit more radical. You can't just be going to conference saying
acting stamp duty is radical.
It's not that radical. It's not that radical.
Then why has no one else done it?
Well, I mean, yeah, fair. I mean, they didn't do it 14 years, right? Mm-hmm. So I mean, that's the problem that she keeps coming up against. Whenever she's sort of giving speech, whenever she's trying to revive the party or the party's trying to revive its own image, the problem they've got is they had 14 years to do all this stuff. They can say now, "I promise we'll stop the votes. I promise we'll cut stamp duty. Promise we'll do all this, that, and the other. We'll save the economy." We had 14 years and you did none of that. In fact, you did the reverse. Like millions and millions of people coming in on small boats and even through the border legally under Boris. You had the economy go down the Swanee. I mean, they have no leg to stand on. No one believes a word they say. And I kind of get it. I mean, they just completely naff for 14 years.
But again, when I spoke to her, she did, and I put the question to her, you guys had 14 years in power. She said, well, she wasn't in charge. It was a different Tory party in those 14 years.
She wasn't in charge. She was in government.
And she also said that not all 14 years were bad. We remember all 14 years as being horrendous. Certainly,
I think they were pretty bad.
Certainly towards the end of their tenure,
they're pretty bad.
We were sick of them. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I think we've got to give her a chance because she's reshaping the Tories back to a party that is finally conservative again.
they're just so late. They're so late to the show. I mean, they're just the only reason they're moving further to the right. They're just this super cynical party. They'll move where they need to go to get elected. They're just full of careerists who've done not a day's honest work in their lives. Half of them, no offense. They've never had a real job. Reform, okay, definitely some characters in Reform, but they're not these sort of like career politicians. They're believable. The Tories, they just seem to be promising anything that people want to hear. But there's that again, like I was saying. It's 14 years to do all this. There's none of the authenticity there. No one can believe a word they say because it's just like you had this huge opportunity. What was their majority under Boris? Like 3 figures.
Plus, yeah.
So yeah, 80 plus.
80
An 80 plus majority. You know, they had some genuinely right wing people in that government. They had some plans. None of it got through. None of it got through. Nothing got done. It's just kind of like, you can say now, you promise the world now, you had 14 years to turn this country's economy around after the crash. You had 14 years to stop the boats. You had 14 years to sort of deliver on stuff like Brexit properly, to really sort of get the economy going again. And what have we got? We've got a huge tax burden, a huge welfare burden. We've got boats coming in willy-nilly. Basically just no border.
Well, then shouldn't we be giving Labour more time? Should we give Labour 14 years to see how well they can do?
I wouldn't give them 14 minutes.
Well, there you go. Yeah. So on one hand, you're saying the Tories had 14 years and they did nothing. Yeah. Labour have had just over a year, and we're saying, no, it's enough. Enough of that. Let's get someone else in.
Just because they're worse doesn't mean the Tories weren't bad. I mean, they're both. I mean, that last comment you talked about, sort of the Titanic, blah, 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 all terrible. Basically correct. Wow. It's very, very hard to sort of look at the British political landscape now and say this is someone I would trust genuinely to run the country. Farage is about as close as you get, probably, in my books. What do you think?
I think a coalition between the Tories and Reform could work. I think Farage as Deputy Prime Minister and Kemi Badenoch as Prime Minister.
I mean,
I think that could be because at least we know with the Tories they have governed. They did it terribly, but they do know how the instruments of Westminster works.
Do they?
Farage and co have no idea. None of them have ever been in a government. None of them have ever served in the cabinet. And you say they're not career politicians. Farage has been a politician his whole career. Farage, what he's very good at, and I'll give him credit for this, having interviewed him also, he's good at selling himself as, and I love saying this term on this show, a working class man. He's a guy who's come from extreme privilege.
You will be careful on that one after yesterday.
He's come from extreme privilege. He made his money in the city, but he makes people believe I'm one of you guys with his cigarettes and his beer. Whereas Keir Starmer actually did grow up working class, but people don't believe him.
Did he grow up working class?
His dad was a toolmaker. Doesn't get more
factory,
more working class than that, does it?
Own the factory.
His dad made tools.
It's like saying I'm a printer. I mean, it's just like it's rubbish. It's just absolutely. He wasn't. I think he's working class. I don't buy that for a minute. Anyway, back to the sort of standing. When you said talk about coalition, Tories and Reform. I mean, you look at the polls now. Tories are polling as low as 16%. Reform have got a 14-point lead. Don't think they need a coalition. They'll be the majority.
I don't think so.
People agree with me. The readers agree with me. I know they do.
In a huge development to the Gaza conflict that has shaped global politics for years, Donald J. Trump announced yesterday that Israel and Hamas have agreed to the first phase of a peace plan that aims to achieve a ceasefire in Gaza. The agreement would see the release of Israeli hostages and Palestinian prisoners, the withdrawal of Israeli forces from parts of Gaza, and the entry of aid, finally. Now, reactions to this have been going through the roof. Trevor Graham said they have been fighting for 2,000 years, might stop for a couple of days, but they will be at it again. Kim Briggs said, could have been stopped a long time ago by not sending them arms. Complete joke. Fair point, Kim. Casey Cornflakes 1234 said, biblically, you will not get everlasting peace in the Middle East. What you can have are lulls in the warfare. This is one of them. Even so, we should not allow that to detract from the enormity of Trump's achievement. And finally, Dog Poo Fairy. You got to come up with better names. I've got to read these names out, people.
I'm slightly worried by these usernames.
Dog Poo Fairy 2 says, Nobel Peace Prize for Trump immediately, please. Dog Poo Fairy. They've got a daft name, but they make a good point.
A very good point.
Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize, correct?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I know he's not sort of the easiest figure to like, but he stopped.
I like him easily.
He stopped several. He's hilarious. I mean, he stopped several. He has stopped several wars since coming into office. You look at how Biden was talking about Russia, Ukraine before Trump got in. It was very hawkish. It was very much like we're going to fight Russia, blah 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 blah. When he was speaking coherently, of course, and you can understand what the hell he was saying. He was sort of saying, yeah, we're going to take it to Russia. We're going to do this and that. We're going to push the front line back in Ukraine. We're going to give them all the arms they want. Blah blah blah. Trump came in and said, no, Enough's enough. Like, stop with this rubbish. Got to pack it in, both of you, sort of like a parent. Like, pack it in the Perrier, like, not having it anymore. And I mean, okay, it's not completely worked with Russia, Ukraine yet. That is very, very tricky. But he's taken the same kind of approach to other parts of Europe, Asia, Middle East. Been great success. I mean, if he's brought a sort of end to this conflict, which has been horrible. I mean, sort of the images coming out of Gaza, and obviously the images from the October 7th attacks as well. I mean, it's absolutely brutal. It's vile stuff. I mean, we've probably both watched the clips. It's I mean, you never want to see that kind of stuff, do you?
Kim brings his comment here that this war could have been stopped a long time ago by not sending them arms. I guess Kim means about the UK sending arms to Israel. Kim has a point.
Probably, but I mean, in the world of diplomacy, it's all very, very difficult, isn't it? I mean, they're an important ally in the region. They are not, they're helping us to fight against terrorism. You have to kind of keep them on side. You can't just sort of cut off all trade with them day one. Also, frankly, we have to go back to the start of the conflict after the sort of October 7th attacks. Really, where does sympathy lie? I mean, maybe that's changed over time, but sympathy at the time lied with Israel. They had been attacked. And obviously the video, like I said to you about the videos coming out of those attacks were disgusting. They were awful. Some of the things they were doing to these festival goers, and I mean, can never scrape that out of my mind. And the sympathy was obviously with Israel at that time. As things have gone on, that's obviously the sympathies have probably changed, if we're being honest. Public sympathy seems to lie. If you look at the polling, a lot of public sympathy does lie with the Palestinians, what's been going on in Gaza. And as the reality has changed, to be fair, so has the politics. I mean, Starmer came out and recognised Palestinian statehood, probably a bit preemptively, and he's not done as well as Trump on the diplomacy. But yeah, I mean, I think I kind of get the point. She's got a point. But in politics, I mean, you can't be too naive. You can't be too, you know what I mean? You can't be too naive.
But what about the other comments from here? Casey Cornflakes and Trevor Graham, that the fighting has been going on there for 2,000 years, and this is not going to stop long term.
I mean, the ceasefire will last probably
as long as I think it will last as long as Trump is in power.
Potentially, yeah, and it depends obviously what happens to Netanyahu as well. When Esther mentioned on yesterday's episode, obviously thinks he's going to be a bit of a loser of the whole thing.
I think he's gone.
Yeah, I mean, there's always sort of cases against him and stuff, isn't there? And always sort of like a huge scrutiny of him. And obviously, when you're a wartime prime minister, president, you kind of get a lot of leeway on the domestic front. People don't want to oust you for various reasons. It's sort of a time-worn thing.
Yeah,
that may change.
The week of the October 7th attack, Netanyahu people in Israel wanted him out, and there were plenty of protests planned for that week.
Yeah,
and then the October 7th attack happened. Yeah, and he's stayed in power since. So I think if peace does come, I think he's gone.
Yeah, well, like I say, Trump is a huge factor in this. Again, it's why he's so good on at least one thing. It's foreign policy. He is hilarious, but he's also kind of unhinged in a sort of sense, which when you're the West is a great factor working in your favour. If the sort of under Biden, I think Putin sort of thought, probably quite rightly, that you could take the mickey a bit and just sort of push in and do what you needed to do then and there, because there was really no credible threat coming from the other end. Are you going to push it like that with Donald Trump?
No.
Probably not. Generally dropped that Moab on, that huge bomb on, I can't remember where it was now, somewhere in the Middle East, Syria. And he took out that Iranian general, I can't remember his name now. Who was it?
I forget his
Qasem Soleimani.
Oh, yeah.
That was, yeah. I mean, you're not going to screw with him, are you?
No.
You're not going to push your luck.
I think this is a case of a madman versus a madman.
Yeah.
That's it, Anyway, let's move on. Prime Minister Keir Starmer and Nigel Farage are still butting heads as the leader of Reform UK revealed the authorities have slashed 75% of Farage's security detail. The revelation came after the Prime Minister labelled the Reform Party's immigration policy as racist during the Labour conference. Zia Youssef then revealed that donors of the party had stepped in to shore up security for Farage. An exclusive from our own show on Monday revealed that since Starmer labelled Reform and Farage enemies of national renewal, 3 Reform UK stalls were attacked with hot coffee thrown at staff. And we had tons of comments on this story. Ticker56 says Keir Starmer is in hiding. The idiot calls Reform and Nigel the enemy. Then this happens. Starmer has nothing, no answers, and no voters. Even his own Labour MPs want him gone. Well, on yesterday's show, Esther McVeigh did say to me that she thinks a lot of I think she said 5 cabinet ministers.
They've had enough, yeah. They've had enough.
Country Gentleman says, lovely name, by the way, Country Gentleman, good handle. What did Starmer say that was untrue? Aren't you only looking at one side of the equation here? As I'm sure you know, according to some folks on here, Lucy Connolly should be celebrated as a political prisoner. I'm all for dialing this sort of talk down, but Farage has been stoking fires for years with his anti-immigrant rhetoric. Hard to feel sympathy if some of his gang get burned. A fair point. One of the phrases I always hear from people on the right is, it's just hurty words, just a few hurty words on Twitter. What does it matter? Okay, well, Starmer saying something, I don't think there are hurty words, what Starmer said. So, but now Farage and co are kicking off about it, saying it's dangerous. You've got to be careful with your rhetoric. Their rhetoric is generally quite dangerous.
I can see what you're sort of saying. I mean, I wouldn't say it's dangerous to say some of the stuff that Farage has been saying on migration for the large part. I think he's been voicing what a lot of people feel, which is that the borders need to be controlled.
Absolutely.
I don't think that necessarily is a vitriolic or aggressive or violent thing to say. It's, you know, obviously if he's going so far as some commentators have gone, not him, some commentators have gone so far as sort of say, you know, sink the boats or whatever. That is probably a step too far. I think most people, that's a step too far. But to say that the border needs controlling, that there should be some limits on migration, that there shouldn't just be a complete open border into the UK, especially with our welfare system, which can be easily exploited and run up a huge bill for taxpayers. That's not aggressive. That's not threatening. That's just a policy I think most people with a bit of common sense would say is completely reasonable.
But defending people's horrible rhetoric on social media, I think that is dangerous.
Well, I mean, what Lucy Connolly said was, it was poor.
Burn them.
It was poor.
Burn them all to hell.
It was poor.
Throw the MPs in there with them.
Definitely, yeah. It was a poor remark. I think even she accepts that, right? She accepts that it was a poor remark.
But
she deleted it very quickly.
Doesn't matter. She said it. It was out there.
I think Farage was defending
Farage and co then said that she is a political prisoner. Someone who's a criminal is not a political prisoner.
I think what Farage was defending there was the fact. I mean, look at the sentence she got. Wasn't it something like 30 months she got in prison? That is more than some people who have committed genuinely like heinous, horrible crimes, sexual assaults. Yeah. There was that guy who was in a migrant hotel in Epping who sexually assaulted a schoolgirl and got less than 30 months. I mean, that's, I think, what he was getting at is there's these insane discrepancies in sentencing where you have someone who's tweeted something and minutes later taking it down, getting a longer sentence than someone who has sexually assaulted a schoolgirl.
Yeah.
That is insane. He's defended stuff like that. I don't think that's the same as sort of saying, you know, what did he say? I got a few notes here. Starmer called for a battle with reform and said he wanted actions, not just words. And then obviously he went out, basically was sort of saying Farage was a racist and Reform were a bunch of racists. Then his outriders were going on the media, clearly instructed by someone at number 10 to go and sort of go on all the airways and say Farage is a horrible racist, he's an Enoch Powell Mark II, blah, blah, blah. And Lammy came out and said, do you hear what Lammy said? He said, wrongly said, Farage had been sort of flirting with Hitler Youth. I mean, it's completely reckless. For a side that they always...
But as you say, Lammy then came out and apologised and said it's not true. So if you're going to say that for... well, she deleted
probably after you got a call from lawyers.
Well, there.
Probably like,
but let's
take that one back.
Let's stick with racism and national pride. Because over the weekend, former England football star Gary Neville posted a video on social media seemingly blaming middle-aged white men like James for dividing the country after the Manchester synagogue attack. The former Man United legend was highlighting how the Union flag was being hijacked by angry middle-aged white men who are trying to turn us on each other. Now, many of our viewers shared their take on Gary Neville's video message. Diver John 46 said, so how come middle-aged white men have any responsibility for Manchester? Yes, the flags are up as people are fed up with this country being put down and the English/British peoples being disregarded. Surely if you are here and a British citizen, it is your flag too, and you should be equally proud of it. We know what the problem is, Gary, and it isn't middle-aged white men. I understand Diver John's comment there, and also I do think with Gary Neville, when he was playing for England, one of the most decorated players this country's ever had. I've been to England football matches. There's a lot of middle-aged white men with skinheads draped in the England flag and draped in the Union flag. Neville was never complaining about those guys going and supporting him when he was playing as a footballer. Now that he's a successful businessman and is now Mr. Political, now he's got an issue with those people, but he didn't have that issue before.
I mean, it's just outrageous. It's just absolutely outrageous. For the record, by the way, I'm 30. But we'll move on. We'll move on from that. I just wanted to correct.
Let me know in the comments how old you think James is, because I think he looks definitely middle-aged. Definitely not 30. I want to see your birth certificate.
I'll show you later. Anyway, get back to the point. He goes, like you say, he's going on about angry middle-aged white men and saying that they're the problem with the country and they're the reason there's always division and all that sort of stuff. This was, I mean, what, a few days, if that, hours after an attack in Manchester by a guy called Jihad.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. And what's wrong with flying the Union Jack? It's our country's flag.
It is.
It's our country's flag.
But, why are people flying the flag now? Also, it's not even called the Union Jack. It's called the Union flag.
It's the Union flag, you know what I mean? Yeah, I was going off the cuff.
Off the cuff.
I know, yeah.
As a true patriot, I know those
yeah, of
things.
course, yeah, of course.
But I can understand Neville's, not his reasoning about this, but the wider issue in the country of people saying they feel intimidated by the flag because of the type of people who are now.
If you feel intimidated by the flag, you are a moron. I don't know what is wrong with you. Like, genuinely, what is wrong with you? What happens when there's an England game on? Do they just lock themselves inside?
But it's quite different there, isn't it? It's different. When England are playing matches, people are not running into people's streets and raising flags. There is definitely an undercurrent with some people who are raising this flag. When we talk about the Unite the Kingdom march that Tommy Robinson led, yes, we can say that, oh no, it's not a racism march, but we've seen video footage of it, there were some racists on that march, 100%, and they were screaming racist things at people and doing racist chants. So if that small undercurrent are taking the flag and using it for those nefarious means, then I can see why it is a problem.
I don't think it's fair. In the same way, too, I'll stick my neck out here, especially as an Express editor, but I think the same would apply to Palestine protests. I don't think everyone who flies a Palestine flag is an awful anti-Semite, even though, unfortunately, on some of those marches, there are awful anti-Semites. I think there are some people there with genuinely held feelings, and I think the same goes here. The Union flag. Sorry, I was about to say the Union Jack again. The Union flag, is not a symbol of racism, division, all these awful things. It can be a symbol of pride as well. This country's done some amazing things. We've got a history to be proud of, by and large. Obviously, like any country, some bad bits.
Absolutely.
But we can learn from those, and we can talk about this in a sensible way. Unfortunately, that's not what's been happening. We've been talking about these in just absolutely unhinged ways. And I think the Union flag is going up everywhere, on lampposts, on sort of public buildings, all that sort of stuff. It's just people just wanting to say, look, can we just have a reasonable relationship with our country? Can we stop hating on ourselves all the time? Why are we so miserable about our own country and our own history? Why? We're the only country I can think of in the world that has such a freakish attitude towards patriotism. We just tie ourselves up in knots and knots and knots about it. America doesn't have this problem. China doesn't have this problem. Russia doesn't have this problem. I mean, most of Europe doesn't have this problem. I was recently in Austria. They definitely don't have that problem. They love their history. They've got a complicated history too. I mean,
let's move on. So, James, this actually marks 1 month of the show. We've been doing this for just 1 month. It may feel like longer for some of you, but the Daily Expresso is 1 month old. It's actually a shame that Sam Lister's not here. Instead, you're here.
Sorry, mate.
I know, the B team. But regardless, we've enjoyed doing this. You've enjoyed it too. And here's some comments that you said about the show. Paul O'Dingle said, "Glad I found this show, as it's the best I've seen. Light but serious at the same time. Keep up the good work." Thank you, Paul. But we can't keep everyone happy, it seems, because someone called Common Sense said, "I like the premise of this show and many of the guests. Unfortunately, I really can't stand this untalented, unintelligent, unfunny presenter JJ, so I can never watch."
Here. What a comment. I'll be your boss soon. You're out. You're out.
Common sense. It's a shame you're lacking common sense, Mr. Common Sense. And finally, Marjorie.
Minus one subscriber right there. Okay, thanks, JJ.
He doesn't watch anyway. Does he? Because of me. Marjorie Milnes says, "Keir Starmer's doing a grand job. Your programme adds to all the other negative rubbish that is spewed out on a daily basis. Leave Keir to get on with the job of government and sorting out the mess they inherited. It's the media rubbish that's keeping this country in the doldrums. These presenters have no idea on how to run our country, only on how to pull it to pieces." Well, thank you, Marjorie. We do love the feedback, so keep your comments coming
Very
in.
generous to Keir Starmer, I think. You're a very generous person. Yeah.
I think, she's clearly maybe some kind of relative of Starmer's.
Possibly, yeah.
Marjorie Mills Starmer. That is it. That is it for this week. James Walker, the straight talker. Thank you very much. But yeah, do keep asking us your questions. Let us know in the comments what you want to know, whether it's about the news, whether it's about us, whether it's about the Express, whether it's about Daily Expresso. Let us know. And join us again on Monday, where we'll get stuck in to the headlines once again. Bye-bye.